Hey, welcome back to the Big Red Zone. We're very excited for today's show. A lot of news. First full week of sports being back. Talk about Joe Kelly and his ridiculous suspension. We'll also jump around Red Sox, Celtics, Patriots talk. And also breaking news today, the XFL is back. Hear who bought it and our reaction to the XFL coming back. All that and more on this week's episode of the Big Red Zone. Welcome to the podcast. It's Big Red Zone. I'm your host, Big Red. As always, I'm joined by my good friend James.
Hello.
And producer John.
Hey.
And today is it feels different because for the first time in months, we actually have a ton of sports to talk about today. Baseball, basketball, and hockey is back. And not football. Basketball is back. Football, we have a lot of football news, but the first thing we want to talk about, and it was, we were all talking about this after when it came out. We were like, podcast had just come out, so we didn't get to talk about it last week. But Joe Kelly last week, like about a week ago, was playing the Astros, and he had a 3-0 count, threw at Bregman, up towards his head, went by him, didn't hit him, and then later on in the inning, he had that altercation. And then he gets an 8-game suspension.
So did he actually hit him?
No. He almost hit two guys. The second guy, it was I don't think it was intentional. It was it was a slider that was 84 miles an hour that just didn't break. So I don't think that's why he was punished, but he was definitely punished for the taunting and the almost hitting Bregman in the head. Initial thoughts? What is, because I know I got my...
I think it's incredibly stupid.
Yeah.
Because hear me out. So he almost hit somebody. You're playing baseball. Like, this happens.
Intentionally. There's no doubt in my mind he almost hit him intentionally.
Yeah.
I will say that.
But he didn't actually make contact at that point, and he was taunting him. Look, I understand if they gave him a warning, or maybe if they said, you know what, you're suspended for a game for taunting and being a dick. Fine. I think it's stupid, but fine. But the way they've handled this whole thing by suspending him 8 games, it's so dumb. The Astros basically have a target on their head now.
Yeah.
Everybody's going to go after him.
So
to be fair, I'm not going to justify what he did. I'm not saying he did the correct thing, but it's not intentionally that wrong either. Like, it's wrong in terms of you probably shouldn't do it, but I don't think it's really that punishable with what he did. If he didn't actually if he didn't just, nail him in the face or something like that. Now, it's one thing. If he beamed the guy in the face, I think that's a completely different argument. But if he didn't.
Baseball has its own set of rules. They have its own code, and it's like all these unwritten rules that you can't do, whatever. And one of those rules is, if you do something wrong, it's frontier justice. You have to expect getting hit. And the fact that I blame Major League Baseball on this, the fact that none of those players that cheated got punished, not even a fine.
Yep.
That set up this season for all of them to get hit. So if the Astros really want to blame someone, blame Rob Manfred for not giving them a penalty. I'm not saying they had to suspend him, but I'm saying I wouldn't be opposed to that. But the fact that they didn't even get a fine is ludicrous.
It shows that the MLB condones it.
And now, think about Joe Kelly. Some background. First of all, his control is not good. Do I think he was throwing at him? Yes. His control is not good. We spent time on the podcast talking about Joe Kelly at home with that video he had over the summer when he was throwing into a big machine. It literally probably was about 20 yards wide, and he missed it to the right, 20 yards to the right, and broke his window. We already know his control is not that great.
Yeah.
So when I don't think it's too crazy to think it could have happened. He could have said, I'm hitting him in the head and just missed, or wanted to throw by his head. Very possible. It's a 3-0 count. He was aiming to hit him. But I don't think it's crazy to think that maybe, just maybe, his control problems, he was aiming for his ribs, or not his ribs, but his shoulder, his hip, or whatever, his butt, and just missed and hit it, like went up high. So I think that's my first take. Number two, a couple years ago, which is when we all fell in love with Joe Kelly in Boston, he hit Austin, what's his name? I can't believe I forget his name, but hit someone on the Yankees. And that was the big fight. He hit him. The guy slammed his bat. Tyler Austin. Hit Tyler Austin. Tyler Austin slams his bat, walks towards him, and Joe Kelly said, "Let's go." And he comes out, and they have a big fight. He hit him, incited a fight, and actually fought in the game.
Yep.
In a 162-game season, and got a 5-game suspension. Yep. He got less games in a longer season for hitting, inciting, and actually throwing punches.
Yeah.
He doesn't hit him. He throws at him. So I understand you got to probably suspend him for a game. He throws at him, misses him, and nothing happens. Bregman goes to first. He's probably ticked off, but...
So let me ask this question. If you throw at somebody, like outside the strike box, is blatantly outside the strike box, are you always going to get suspended?
You can't. That's the baseball. But maybe from now on, because Manfred's trying to set this rule, and that's always
what I
been
don't
my
like
problem.
about this.
And people probably say, "Oh, you shouldn't throw at people." That's not. That's just how it is. And I mean,
not for nothing. You spend the whole time throwing at them.
No, but I mean, actually intentionally trying to hit someone.
But he didn't hit him.
He was intentionally. But my point is, people probably say that they are probably upset. Like, people that don't know the game are like, why did he try to throw at him? He shouldn't try to hit him in the game. And that's just as much as it sounds stupid, it's like, it's how baseball polices itself. That's like, if you do something wrong and that you don't, they didn't even get they didn't get any punishment.
No, yeah.
If your guy intentionally throws at someone, then if someone on the other team intentionally hits you, then your pitcher down the line is going to hit someone.
Yeah, that's how it works.
I also have a problem that Joe Kelly didn't even get ejected. He finished the game. Like, he didn't get thrown out of the game. So how are you throwing an 8-game suspension, which in this season is worth like 20-something games, and he didn't even get ejected? How did he not get ejected if he's going to get a 26-game or 8-game suspension? It makes no sense whatsoever. They're trying to make an example of him to stop it, but Rob Manfred doesn't realize, because he's terrible at his job, that it's only going to incite more of people hitting.
Yeah.
Like, the gloves are off. If he thinks this is going to stop people throwing at the Astros, it's not going to happen. And Correa,
it's only going to ramp it up.
Who took exception to an 82-mile-an-hour slider that just got away, that didn't hit him. It's like, come on, bro. Like that. Like, you're a big league guy. You got to know that. And it's like, I mean, Joe Kelly did chirp at him, but don't be that soft. Like, you're a softy. If you get that upset about someone like saying something to you, like, come on. It's like, it's ridiculous.
Does this become, can you suspend people for chirping at him? Can you suspend him for taunting?
Yeah, I mean, the suspension wasn't it was like a small part of it. It was throwing at someone's head.
But you're still, even if it's I don't care if it's 1% of the reason. That's still
the point is it's incited everyone bench clearing. Everyone cleared the benches. That's what that taunting did. But
so he's responsible for what the other team does then. If that clears the what I'm getting at is, my point here is, look, they're gonna chirp the Astros every single game. Comments are gonna be made. Every single game, someone's gonna say some crap.
Yeah,
they're gonna have to deal with it. Well.
Yeah, I mean,
just obviously don't make anything ridiculous. But the point is, like, if somebody yells cheaters across the
well, that's not what he
stadium.
said.
But you get what I'm saying.
I'm not
like any of that crap is
condoning Joe Kelly, because I think he did. If he did throw at his head, that's the only thing I think he did wrong. I think it got away, but I don't think he really did anything wrong. He did chirp him and said, "Nice swing," expletive. And I think people know what it is. But let me be honest. I've heard worse said to me in my Little League, like my town league basketball games. Like, I was called every name in the book, and there was never an altercation. Like, there was never like, we would have words with each other, but it wasn't like, no one took it offensive. It's in the game, and it's like,
it's part of the game. It's part of the competitive spirit.
Big boys.
And here's the thing too.
Stones. Sticks and stones.
Well, as long as you're not saying anything that's ridiculous, and everybody knows the line I'm talking about. But if they give that sarcastic,
What is it, James?
well, you see, John. No, but no. As long as it's not something that's like that ridiculous, we don't know the line is. I don't see the problem. And if you can't handle that, and you're in professional baseball, what the hell are you doing?
Yeah, that's
like if you can't handle getting chirped and getting like that's
the NBA goes at it all the time. Like they're guys like that. Basketball people chirp all the time. Worse, it's like you got to be tougher than that, and especially like where you are. Like that's why I give Bregman his credit. He took his base, didn't say anything. He had a 90-something mile an hour, 98-something mile an hour fastball thrown at his head, and he just took his base. Didn't say a word. Like, if anyone has a gripe to have is Bregman, because he just, like...
But he's setting a good example, though.
But, no, I don't think it's that he's setting a good example.
Yeah, I think that is. I think he just says, you know what? You screwed up there, bud. I'm just going to take my base, and you keep acting like a jerk.
But I don't think it's that he's setting an example for anyone, because there's no example for how to... I just think he gets the game, and I think he understands that's part of the game, and he took his base. Correa, who... is just a moron. Like now he's gonna get hit more. Like everyone's on Joe Kelly's side and across the league.
Oh yeah.
And I mean Manfred's done nothing but inside. He is officially the worst commissioner in all of sports.
Yeah.
Like he is killing the game. He's ruining. Like he's not listening to the players. He doesn't get baseball. He's a business guy. He doesn't understand baseball, and he's killing this league. Someone's got to come in and knock him out.
The thing is, he needs to take a hard principled stance on certain things and say, look, either this is okay or this isn't, or this is how we deal with things.
He is, though. He's taking a stand, but it's the wrong stand for baseball.
Well, clearly, here's the thing. Clearly, if breaking the rules is an issue, then why did the Astros get punished? But only certain rules, only certain things.
The Astros did get punished, but the problem...
No, not really.
Well, I mean, their manager and their GM lost their jobs, and their one of their assistant coaches lost their jobs, and they got fined a lot of money. The organization got punished. That's not the problem. The problem is the players that are, for some reason, since the beginning, are seen as these like young guys that didn't know what they were doing. It's like they knew exactly what they were doing. But that's what
I'm saying. They didn't get punished.
But to say the Astros didn't get punished, they did.
Well, I'm obviously referring to the players on this one. A lot of the rest of the league feels like, what the hell, guys?
Yeah.
You know? Not for that. I bet you every other player is like, imagine if I did some crap like that.
Well,
you know, every other player feels like, you know,
hitting 300
again, Joe Kelly says some crap and throws a bad ball, gets suspended 8 games. Yeah. These guys legitimately cheat. Nothing happens.
Yeah.
You know, specifically to them. The
other thing people forget, like this game was circled on the calendar. It's the first game between the Astros and Dodgers.
Yeah.
Remember, the Dodgers lost to the Astros, who were cheating to win the World Series.
Yeah.
And people say, like, oh, Joe Kelly wasn't on that Dodgers team. He was on the Red Sox at the time. But people forget, because it wasn't like a big, it was a series, but it wasn't a big series. The Astros beat the Red Sox. So there is bad blood between Joe Kelly and the Astros, because he got possibly cheated out of a chance to go to the World Series and go further in the playoffs. So I just think it's like, I mean, say it so many times, I don't think Joe Kelly should have been suspended 8 games, especially in such a short season. So I just don't get it. But
a 1 to 2 game suspension, fine. But if that's the standard,
you got to suspend him. But throwing at someone's head, you got to suspend him for at least a game.
If that's, but also, how much does the taunting play into it? That's the thing. That's the part for me about this that gets me more.
I don't think.
If you want to give him a 1 game suspension for throwing a wild ball at his head, fine. But if the taunting plays into it at all, that's what concerns me. Because how are you going to enforce that at that point? Because you're going to be giving players suspensions or fines left and right.
I liked it. Because I love Joe Kelly. I think he's a psycho. He says he's a psycho, and I love it. Yeah. But it was over the top. Yeah. I don't know if you saw it, but it was over the top. Like, if you haven't seen it, you should go watch it. It was the most over the top taunting I've seen on the actual field that I've seen in a long time. So I get it.
But so here's a question that you might have the answer to then. Do they have it written down specifically what is and isn't allowed? Like similar to the NFL?
Like I said, baseball, it's unwritten rules. A lot of them are unwritten rules.
Well, not for
so
nothing.
What I would say in that situation, instead of complaining like Correa, what probably would happen, and it would just it probably is not the right thing to do, but then you hit someone, the Astros would go in and hit someone on the other team. That's the frontier justice. You give warnings on either side, and then that's it. You hit that, then it's over.
Not for nothing. Maybe it's because I'm a by-the-book kind of person, and I like to play within the rules. Maybe it's because I grew up like the racing kind of stuff, and in the racing world, you cheat anywhere you can unless there's a rule. If there's no rules about it, how can you be suspended for it? That's the thing about baseball I always dislike, is it's the idea that like there were unwritten rules. Well, then why the hell is it a rule? If it's not a rule, how can you enforce punishments on it?
It's like...
I've never liked that idea.
No, when I say unwritten rules, there's not like suspensions. I'm saying that someone's going to get hit. And someone's going to get thrown at. That's the unwritten rule part. Yeah. If you bunt up 10, you're going to get hit next time you play. If you like showboat a home run and like just watch it, then you're getting hit next time you're up. Yeah. It's just how it is.
But what I'm talking about is like what are their rules on, for instance? Do they have a set standard on, hey, you throw a wild ball at somebody's head, 2-game suspension? You know, hey, you're taunting somebody, that's going to add a 1 game.
It depends on it really depends on the situation. You're going to get suspended if you throw at someone's head, but it's just depending.
And that's still...
It depends on...
It's very wishy-washy is my point.
But I mean, some rules depend. Like if you get thrown out, if you say like, oh, if you get thrown out of a game, you can't just say like, oh, you're getting a 1-game suspension. What if you really do something bad to get thrown out of a game?
What I'm saying is have a standardized list being like, look, you throw a pitch at somebody's head on purpose with intention. We can tell.
There's no sport that has that. There's nothing that everything is case by case basis. No. Because it's up to the commissioner has made a bad call here because I don't think it's correct. But that's how you can look at any sport and say that's what we give Goodell such a hard time. He's bad at handling different situations because he doesn't know what the suspension is, what a suspension should be. So what the appropriate
it's that lack of consistency overall.
Yeah,
but that's gonna be that is my point. Is I'm not saying that it's something that you have to do. What I'm getting at is if you're not going to be consistent, at least write down some sort of guidelines or something. That's my thing. And this goes for every sport. This goes for all of them because it seems like they always pick and choose, and they always pick and choose certain people to pick on or certain things.
That's the problem. That's
it's not always fair. So and that's my point.
But that's the thing. You're in a business of entertainment. If you say if LeBron James, if someone said, or we'll use baseball, we'll stick with baseball. I don't think he would ever do this, but let's say, all right, we're setting the standard. Joe Kelly's getting an 8-game suspension because he taunted and hit someone. Let's say that Mookie Betts, that he doesn't pitch. Let's say Verlander hits someone and taunts someone. Yeah, you're gonna give him an 8-game suspension? How about Scherzer? How about
Well, you already set the precedent.
That's what I'm saying. You can't say this equals this.
But when they're 1 doesn't equal 1?
You can't do it. It's entertainment.
That's what I'll always disagree with them. I understand why they do it. I get because it's money. It's the bottom line. The fact that the game is fair doesn't mean anything to these people.
Let me ask you this.
Yes.
If you went to a Celtics game, right?
Yeah.
You're paying to sit upstairs now. You're probably paying, depending on the game. Let's say you go to a good team, you play. They're playing the Lakers. You're paying $100-something, $20 for nosebleed seats. Yeah. Right. Then you go in, you pay,
those seats that we were at.
Yeah. So you say you pay $120-something for a ticket. Yeah. You pay probably $100 on food between beers.
I think I know the argument you're getting at.
And you come to the game, you're all excited to watch the game, and you hear that LeBron James had a 1-game suspension for taunting someone.
Yeah.
How are you going to feel when you get in there?
It's also, though, it is part of the game.
Oh, my God, James, that is absolutely psychotic.
Nope. What is absolutely psychotic?
If they suspended...
Wait a minute.
You spent almost $300 to go see
You
LeBron
chose to spend
James.
$300.
Right, to see LeBron James play.
Yes.
That's my biggest problem when they rest players, even though I understand it, but rest players at your own stadium because you can have access. LeBron James plays in Boston once every season.
Well, then have them all play by the same rules. They're all equally on the team. They're all players. Why can some people get away with breaking the rules and some can't? That is BS.
Why does Ovechkin get in fights? It doesn't get in fights, but like someone like I don't know hockey that well, but some lower level guy is the guy. Why do they have guys that are like enforcers and get in fights that aren't as good? Because they can afford to be suspended, and Ovechkin can't. From a team's perspective and a league perspective, they will not suspend those guys.
But it's still stupid.
It's not. It's
either it's a rule or it's not.
Say what you want. If it's stupid or not, it's a business.
Here's the thing. I understand the business. The money thing, that they're in the business to make money. They're not in the business to have a fair sport. They're not in the business to have real competition. It's money first. I get that.
If it was a fair sport, then everyone would have the same amount of money to play with for the Athletics would have the same amount.
I'm talking about the rules at least.
But I'm saying the whole picture. There is the rules. You have a salary cap. And you have a luxury tax. You have the open market. That's the rules.
That part is applied equally, thankfully.
But no, it isn't. The Athletics don't have as much money as the big market teams like the Red Sox. They can't sign a guy.
Oh no, sorry. I was thinking like in NFL and stuff like that.
They still can't. They can't afford some of the players.
They all have the same.
They have the same number they can't spend over, but they still can't afford. Some of these low market teams can't afford.
Yeah,
to go sign
that is
these
true.
guys.
That is true.
So that's not it's an uneven playing field already. It's just it's how it is.
Why not enforce the rules?
All right, then let's put the Athletics on a primetime game on ESPN.
Okay.
Let's see no names play and no one will watch it. It's like that's how it is.
But you're doing a straw man argument from what I'm trying to argue here. What I'm saying is if somebody breaks the rules, you enforce it the same. That's all I'm asking.
I just
that's all I'm asking.
My point is that some players you can't suspend. You can't have a strict rule because when it actually comes down to it, and then you're gonna have that type where you know LeBron James, like it's more of a basketball situation because for the argument, or like we can even say my example would have been Mookie Betts, but he doesn't throw at anyone, so it's hard to make that argument.
True,
but
he's got a cannon though.
If he did throw at someone, but it's like. So you can't really make that argument. So I'm looking at starting pitchers, I guess, and they pitch every 5 days. So I guess the suspension won't hurt them as much because if you said they're suspended for 5 games, they're going to miss one start. What's the big deal?
That's a valid point. I didn't think.
But it's like even to that point, that it's an unfair, regardless thing. Sports is like life. It's unfair. Sometimes if you're a bigger number person, you're going to get leniency than a lower rookie guy. If a rookie did that, then it's probably looked at. Joe Kelly is not seen as like a big time pitcher.
Yeah.
So that's why he gets more of the slap on the wrist than someone like if Scherzer threw at someone. Scherzer, I can guarantee you, would not get an 8-game suspension, and I don't blame it because he is a star in the league. It's just how it is. So it's just, and it's more applied to like games like basketball, which is why you don't see LeBron James get suspended. You see him get thrown out.
Yeah.
He gets ejected from a game and everyone freaks out. But it's like, why doesn't he get a technical when he says the ref, like, just screams in the ref's face? Or he gets one technical and doesn't get, or if he throws someone to the ground, it's not a flagrant foul.
Yeah.
It's because the league can't survive. We said it with Giannis, which we complain about it, but it's just how it is. Giannis gets more leniency because he's a star in the league.
Yeah.
Which like in the Celtics game, when they played him, they call a charge on Giannis. Marcus Smart gets a charge. They review it. They reviewed it for some reason, and they said, no, it's a blocking foul on Smart. Why do you think that was? Because Giannis had 5 fouls, and that would have been a 6th, and he would have been out of the game. It's like, that's how it is. That's sports.
Yeah.
Like that. There's nothing that you can't put, and I understand it. I may not always like it because it may hurt our team sometimes. And like in that situation, Giannis didn't get thrown out, and then get not thrown out, but he would have fouled.
Yeah.
It's just how it is, and that's why they make memes about like Giannis holding the ref, like hugging the ref and stuff like that, and then that's how we get over it. It's like that's just how it is.
What I'm saying is, I'm not going to say that you're going to completely get rid of that bias in this case towards your big players, but all I'm asking is like make it reasonable. make it somewhere within the same realm.
Oh, he definitely like messed.
'Cause,
No one should. And by the way, everyone that hit them in that situation. When I look at that situation, anyone I would have seen would have got a 1-game suspension.
Yeah.
Like that's just how I looked at the situation. Like that's like
I'm not even looking at it's a short season.
Yeah.
So like as when we started talking earlier, I was like, 1 to 2 game.
Maybe 2 games.
Somewhere in there.
Because he's a reliever. Make him miss a couple games, which he probably would have been off one day anyways, a couple days anyway.
That's fine. If that is the standard, so be it. But the 8 it doesn't
make sense.
Political BS within the league.
It's just Manfred's a guy that everyone yelled at because he screwed up. It's like Goodell. It's a lot like Goodell. This is not exactly, but it's how I would compare it to Deflategate. He fumbled the bag. Goodell fumbled the bag on the rice thing when he had the domestic violence. He fumbled. He completely screwed up. He was completely wrong, and he should have had the hammer come down on him.
Absolutely.
And Goodell didn't give him that.
No.
And then when everyone complained about that, the next thing that just happened to happen is Brady.
Overcompensated.
He overcompensated.
And that happens all the time.
So
sadly.
It's the same exact thing. The Astros didn't get the big suspension. They said they handled it poorly. The league handled it poorly.
Agreed.
So what happens? He overcompensates against Joe Kelly. So he's just, and everyone's on him. I understand it, but.
Yeah, but just because you do something doesn't mean it's the correct thing. Like, you know what I mean? Just because he's overacting, like, oh, now I'm going to do it. No.
Oh, it's wrong.
It's wrong for him to do that.
And
I get why he's doing it. I get it. But the thing is, he's obviously not. He's not really surrounded by people that can advise him properly on how to handle this kind of stuff. Well, he's not a baseball guy,
which is my biggest complaint with him.
Well, you obviously have to have a commissioner, and this goes for NFL and anybody else. Whoever's commissioner, whoever's running the league, helps with that stuff. You have to be passionate about it and understand the core of the sport. We've talked about that so many times.
Yeah. So Joe Kelly's appealing it right now. I think he's still appealing. I don't know if he won or lost the appeal, but free Joe Kelly. We're a free Joe Kelly podcast.
Agreed.
Staying on the baseball topic, looking at this dumpster fire called the Red Sox.
Nobody saw this problem coming ever.
I will admit.
Wow.
I will admit I was a little overconfident after opening day. But it's just
they had
the
a chance.
Pitching is terrible. You're gonna win once every like 5 days because you'll have a Valdi or someone else that can get 5 innings go. You're gonna win 2 out of 4 games every time, and then it's just gonna be miserable. It's gonna be a miserable season, folks. It's like yesterday they lost against the Yankees.
Yep.
10-7, I think.
Yeah.
On Sunday, they lost 10-7. You scored 7 runs and lost. Your pitching gives up 10 runs.
I wonder what their average is going to be at the end of the season. Their average is going to be insane.
In
terms of runs given up.
And I looked yesterday.
Yeah. Fun
fact for you. Those Orioles that we made fun of, they're in second place. If the playoffs ended today, they would be in the playoffs. The season ended today, they would be in the playoffs. Let's hold on. I want to look up Red Sox.
It goes to show when seasons change like this, a lot of the numbers go out the window. You don't always know how this is going to go.
I think we all knew how it was going to go.
Well, no, talking about the Orioles thing. I was talking about with that.
Orioles, yeah.
With that, you don't always know where the teams are going to stack up in a situation like this where this has never happened with a baseball season.
All right.
But when it comes to the Red Sox, we were talking about this, what is this, 7 months ago, 8 months ago now?
Yeah. Let's look at the ERAs here, shall we?
Yeah.
Perez has a 5.06. Yeah. Golly has a 6.14. Ooh. Ryan Weber has an 11.57. This guy, Bryce, who I think did my taxes last week, has a 6.35.
Oh, no.
Matt, is this Matt Hall, something Hall? I don't even know who he is. He's a relief pitcher, has a 15.43. Matt Barnes, who was supposed to be the guy that was we were looking forward to. The one guy has a 9 ERA.
Jesus.
Covey has a 9 ERA. Brazier has a 13.50. And whoever this guy Springs is, Jeffrey Springs, has a 33.75.
Why is he there?
So, yeah. we have a guy, Brian Johnson, that's down in minor league that they don't want to add, who could easily be a starter that maybe isn't going to have the best dazzle you, but he's at least not going to have a 30.
Better than those.
Oh, yeah. I was like, I thought
oh, no, sorry, my bad.
Computer.
No, like better than those guys.
I was so
guys.
confused.
Jesus.
I was
no,
like,
sorry,
what's going on?
What are they grabbing guys from, like, where are they finding some of these guys?
I don't know, man. Like,
where are they finding them? That's one of the worst ERAs I've ever heard of.
Off the street. I don't know. It's like, and I mean, it's a broken record, and you're going to hear us say it until the end of the season, until next season, until they sign some actual starting pitching. Now your prayers up for Erod, who is dealing with heart complications due to the coronavirus. I hope a speedy recovery to him.
That's rough.
But he was supposed to be your ace of the future. Like, he was supposed to be your guy that you were going to anchor on for the next, 5 years. But he's done.
But not for nothing, even though they're relying on one dude. Like, even that's still...
They weren't totally relying on one dude. I'm saying, you add Erod into there.
Yeah.
Chris Sale will be back, hopefully healthy next year.
Oh, yeah. Okay, that's true.
Erod was going to be the young guy that they were going to lean on. Chris Sale's up there in age and also has elbow problems. You need to go out and get a starting pitcher next year.
Oh, yeah.
If I'm Bloom, I'm looking out for getting pitching, nothing but pitching, and that's it. Bullpen arms and starters.
Oh, yeah.
You have the tools in the field. I fully believe that you have the bats. I don't think that's the problem. You need to go out and get some starting pitching and young starting pitching to get you through, or established guys to get you through the next few years to make a playoff run.
Oh, yeah.
And number one thing they need to do is get rid of this moron that's calling the shots, Rob Renicky. He is he's the worst manager. He may be the worst manager I've ever seen. He is the worst. He's and I get it. He was supposed to retire, I heard, this year, and he came back because we didn't have a manager. But he is god awful. He is the decision making. I make better decisions in MLB The Show on PlayStation. I think he's the worst. Not
a fair comparison, but probably true.
It's the worst decision making I've ever seen. Just handing days off like he's Oprah to these guys. Everyone gets a day off every couple days. Does someone need to let him know that it's a 60-game season? We have less games to make it.
Maybe he's just not hungry anymore for the game. He's not hungry for
the Red Sox aren't hungry.
Anything.
Period. And it was evident when they didn't have when they have guys like Spring pitching for your team.
Yeah.
It's evident. They don't care about the season. They're punting. And like we said last week, how when you're in Boston, you don't have the luxury of punting on a season and putting an uncompetitive product on the field. Yeah. That's what I'm talking about. And that's why everyone's angry. That's why it has I wouldn't say it's as bad as 2012 with Bobby Valentine, because Bobby Valentine's team that was probably the most irritated I've ever been watching the Red Sox. But it's pretty close.
But to argue, though, it's inevitable with every team. It's inevitable you're going to have a bad year or an off year. And not for nothing, with all the crap that's happened over the last few months, not that that's the reason why they're doing bad right now. But, at this point, I just call the year a wash and just look, it is what it is this year.
James, when you're, and I don't want to go into it again, when you're a Boston team,
I know, it's a higher
Red Sox,
standard.
You can't do that.
The bar is much higher.
I don't care. I understand, there's been a lot that's happened this year. But you traded away Mookie Betts and David Price, who, say what you want about David Price, he, in a 60-game season, I think he would thrive. I would think he would thrive. I haven't really been paying attention much to him this season, but he always had a hot start, and then he would cool off. So 60 games, you're getting 6 starts in 60 games if you're a starting pitcher. He may be, and especially when you're bullpen, you're trotting out Ryan Weber as one of your starters. That's not a bad. I would feel more comfortable if David Price was in the thing. You didn't get a pitcher.
Nope.
You didn't get a starting pitcher.
Nope.
And you knew Chris Sale was going to be out. You didn't know about Erod, but you knew Nathan Eovaldi was kind of shaky. So at the time, you had 2 starters, and you didn't get one. You didn't get anything. You got Verdugo, who I like, but you got another outfielder. That's insane. That's insane to me that they didn't get a starting pitcher for that in that trade.
Well, it goes to show they didn't really understand their own priorities. They didn't really sit down and say, look, where we're strong, where we're weak, where we need to work on.
It just doesn't make sense.
No.
It's absolutely, and that's what I'm talking about, where people have a problem, is that everyone said going into the season, pitching's going to be a problem. Yeah, we know. Pitching's going to be a problem. Yeah, we know. You did nothing about it.
Yeah.
Nothing. You signed a bunch of no-name guys that had like 6, 7 higher ERAs last year in the past years, or coming off injuries. And I get one of Bloom's, like, I think skill set as a GM is he finds guys that are like diamonds in the rough. He finds guys that, I don't want to compare him to Bill Belichick because he's not even on the same planet. But Bill has that same ability to find these undrafted guys and put them in positions and build them up. Bloom has maybe not build them up, but it has that ability to find guys that are like, cheap money that actually can maybe develop into like something great.
People with potential.
Right. Which I give him credit because we've seen that in the past. But we got to start spending some money. We have some cap room next year. We need to go out and get a starting pitcher. We need to go get pitching. That's it. Hands down. That's it.
It's obvious.
But who knows what they'll do. I have a feeling they're going to do a lot of Renick's going to be out, obviously, but they need to find a manager that is hungry and wants to win. Hopefully Alex Cora, but I don't think that's going to happen. But I don't know. It's going to be interesting. They need to go. They need to retool that whole bullpen. And beside re-signing a few guys, I would not sign one offensive player. I would focus all my offseason on pitching. That's all I would do if I was the Red Sox.
Yeah.
That's all I would do. That's all you can do. You're putting, it's like going through the names. It's like, it's absolutely insane that we're, and don't forget, Chris Sale's in the first year of his deal, his 5-year, something crazy amount of money deal.
That was...
Nathan Eovaldi's in year 1 or 2 of his 4-year crazy deal.
Yeah.
You have a lot of money tied up in these guys, and it's like, I don't know. It's crazy. I'd also move, and I mean, we've talked about this before. I think Pedroia's due his money, but I'd move his contract off the books because I don't think he's playing unless you need to have a conversation with Pedroia, because if you could move his contract on to a coaching staff contract and pay him what he's due, but make him a coach or make him a developmental guy with these young guys, that way it gets your money off the salary cap and you're still paying him his money, but it's off the books kind of.
Yeah.
I think that's more effective, so you can create a little extra room. But they need to go get some starting pitching and some bullpen arms.
Agreed.
All right, I think that's enough baseball talk. And again, so frustrating just thinking about the Red Sox. And they gave me so much hope yesterday. Bogey hit a couple home runs. Devers hit a bomb. Also, Aaron Judge hitting 5 home runs in a game. When has Aaron Judge even played 5 games in a row? This guy is on an unbelievable tear. Good for him. But where did it come from? I strikes out so much, and I said I didn't think he was a top 5 outfielder, and now he's 5 home runs. Get out of town.
Hey.
So looking at, we can talk a little Celtics if you want. Celtics.
Yeah.
The Celtics started up this season. They're 1-1 right now of their 8 games. Made me nervous. They had 2 good games so far. Lost against the Bucks, as I said, some controversy on that. Some bad calls down the stretch. Tatum didn't look good in game 1, and he definitely answered the call in game 2. But blew a 24-point lead, I think, in game 2 to make it close. They ended up winning by a couple, which made me a little nervous. But down the stretch,
that's a hell of a rally right there. That's, wow.
But down the stretch, they did make plays. I'm happy. I like where we're at. Someone was asking me the other day, what are your thoughts on the Celtics, predictions for the Celtics this year? Are they a contender for the title? If they stay healthy, they're a contender. If Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Gordon Hayward, if their core Kemba can stay healthy, they will be a contender to win the championship, I think. Just they look good. They did almost blow huge lead, which was making me nervous. But Tatum stepped up big. He had a huge game. Jaylen Brown, I think they both scored over 30.
Wow.
Hayward scored over 20, so you could stop the Gordon Hayward slander about not re-signing him. And Kemba had a decent game. He was on a minute restriction, but he looked pretty good too. But it will be interesting. I have no idea. Anyone can win this playoffs. It's very open. Everyone's rested. It's going to be hard to get a good read on. Yeah. I can't wait for it to start up. I really can't. And I love that Bruins playoff hockey was back. Had a terrible game one. Yeah. But I saw Tuukka Rask was out. And I got to preface this. I don't know much about hockey. I like the Bruins. I'm a casual Bruins fan. That's the same. Nice term. But I saw Rask was unfit to play. So it makes me a little nervous for... There's going to be a lot of players that end up in that unfit to play category because they can't really say they have the virus. They can't really say. I don't think he has the virus. That's the term they're using, though. Yeah, which makes me a little nervous because he traveled with them to Canada. Yeah, Toronto, yeah. So, and he's been in the bubble. So I like they get tested. They had to be tested a bunch of times before they went in. So it would have come up. So I don't know what it is. You know what I mean? I'm kind of shocked. But that's going to be the annoying part is in hockey, there's going to be a lot of players that they'll just say unfit for play, and that's it. You won't get any more details.
Where's the NHL bubble?
Toronto.
It's in Toronto?
No, it's
Toronto
Edmonton.
and I thought it was Toronto.
They have Toronto and Edmonton.
Well, yeah, and that's the other one.
They have two bubbles. By the way, I know we did a lot of bubble talk last week. I love the bubbles. Like watching the games, I was like, you know how we made fun of baseball for their cardboard cutouts, their fake cheers, stuff like that. I think they have a lot of fake cheers going on in the NBA games and the NHL games, but I love it. I think it's I don't for when I was watching the Celtics game yesterday, I for a moment forgot that it wasn't an actual playing in front of a fan. Baseball, because it's and also it's hard because
it's more static cameras too in baseball. Yeah. So you can really see people.
And in NBA, they have the bubbles, so they set up instead of bleachers. They don't have bleachers. They have video screens. So the NBA, they have people zoom in to watch. They had Paul Pierce on the other day. They had Deuce Tatum watching the game.
There's multiple courts, right? Or
I think they gotta have
it looks like a youth gym practice facility.
Yeah.
There's I think from what I saw, it looks like there's just several courts, and I don't know how many people are playing at once, or if that's just where the facility is.
I think they only have a couple games going on because they have the prime. They have games that they play. I think they have two.
You need 2 or 3 courts.
Not a week, a day.
Yeah, because to get through all these,
and they televise. They televise, I think, most, if not all, the games. So I actually really like. I watched a little bit of the Bruins game yesterday, and then I went to the Celtics game because I'm more of a basketball guy.
Yeah.
But I liked it. I didn't know and I've heard a lot of people say this. You sometimes find yourself forgetting that it's actually a bubble and not a real basketball
We
game.
should just never have fans again.
Never. Don't let them in. I'd save a ton of money. I'd save a ton of money.
Did you see the clip of it was going around on Twitter the other day? They show the players walking into the stadium or whatever, and they showed LeBron. He was in this 2-piece floral thing, and then they showed Kawhi Leonard right after him, and he was wearing just basketball shorts, flip flops, just a black T-shirt. He looked like he was just a college kid coming from the dorm room.
I love it. There's been so many funny Kawhi memes, the one of Marcus Morris was reaching over, and they said he's a fun guy, and he's
he looks back and he just has the saddest face. Yeah. Why would he do that to me? Why?
There was one today that Joakim Noah, who I'm so happy they gave him a contract because I love Joakim Noah, made a big play. I don't even know what it was. But he was high-fiving the bench, and he turns around right before Kawhi, and Kawhi just has his hand out. He's and the caption was, "I wish I could be in Kawhi's head sometimes."
Kawhi is unironically one of the funniest people on
He's one of my favorite players in the league. Right, active players in the league right now. I think he's one of my favorite, if not my favorite player in the league, because he's just so basketball is like my job. He's so into it, but he's like
Yeah.
also such a dry sense of humor, which I don't even think it's a sense of humor.
I don't know. I think
it's
he's
his
just like. I think he's just like sad.
I think he's just serious. I don't think he's
Well, that's just
sad.
how he
I think
naturally
he's,
reacts to some of
I
this
think he's
stuff.
just like stone face,
Deadpan.
just like.
Yeah.
That's why it was so funny when he was like, when he came to Toronto, he's like, I'm a fun guy. I like to have fun.
Oh, that's what the quote is from. Oh, wait, that's okay. I don't think I've ever heard the whole. All I've heard was the weird laugh.
Yeah. He's like, he said, I forget what the full quote was like.
It reminds me of like the Tim Duncan meme where like Tim Duncan's just like on the bench and he's just like.
Yeah. Yeah, just that same thing. That's why I thought he was a perfect Spur. He reminded me so much of Tim Duncan.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's a lot of funny memes going on. That's funny that I didn't see that he just walked to the game and like.
Yeah, I was sure. He looks like he's like a lot of people are captioning it as if he's like coming down from like a dorm room or something.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of like that. They're in the bubble
Yeah.
and they're in their like dorm
Oh, yeah.
room, if you will, and they just come to the game. It must be the life. Probably not the best life to
It
live.
must be the life.
But
yeah,
I
don't
it's
know.
probably not.
I mean, though, it
probably,
does cut out a lot of other things. Like, you're no longer traveling a lot. You're no longer, like, eating up a
I
lot of
bet
extra time.
I just watched
Like-
the Joakim Noah video.
Yeah.
Sorry, audio listening.
Uh.
I want to see if I can find. This is so bad for people who are listening
Yeah.
just audio, but who
Um,
cares? Screw them. Screw the audio. I'm just kidding.
No.
We get way more audio. I'll keep
Um,
talking. I'll find it.
Well, I think we're gonna move on to the NFL opt-out situation. 'Cause this is kind of the rapid fire. We got a big segment at
we
the
got a
end.
lot.
Our favorite thing, but which we'll announce that just broke today. But NFL opt-outs, and that's been like a big talk. I know with like fantasy football, everyone's draft is like, when do we do our fantasy football draft? Even our league that we're gonna have, which we will have the league. Hopefully we'll have. I guess I shouldn't say we will, because if there's not an NFL season or people
Really hoping. Really hoping.
It's very in question because the NFL, a lot of players are opting out. We've seen a couple like star players like Matt Stafford be on the COVID list, who has COVID right now and recovering, so who knows if he will play. Like we said, Marcus Cannon, Hightower, Chung. We just had Matt Lacoste drop, and the wide receiver, I forget his name.
Yeah.
Marquise Lee. They opted out this week. The Patriots have a ton of opt-out guys.
That's a problem. That's going to be, after a while, that really accumulates.
I will say, like, so far, defensively, it's kind of hurt us with the Hightower Chung drop, and also with Marcus Cannon. That does hurt. I'm not saying like I don't.
We can get over it. We can get over those losses though. But
so far in the league, there hasn't been any of those big like, Patrick Mahomes is sitting out.
none of the top names yet,
But
thankfully.
When the deadline comes, I was talking with a couple buddies in my fantasy football league. And I agree with them. We think that when the date is set, a lot of people. He's smiling.
I keep watching the Kawhi clip.
It's a very serious topic, and John's just dying.
I keep
off
watching
camera.
the stupid Kawhi. Sorry,
but when the deadline comes, they're gonna have a ton of people opt out. I think that day. I think that's when we're gonna.
It's gonna be a massive day,
and then we'll have to see.
And they haven't set the date yet.
It was supposed to be. It's supposed to be this week. I think it's either Thursday.
Oh, is it really?
Thursday? But I think they're trying to push it back.
They'll probably push it back to like.
But I'm hoping that it's I keep going back for I hope that we get more like news on it, like when that opt out is.
Yeah.
We looked it up because I know like a lot of people maybe aren't sure with it. James looked it up and just like because
I want to see what the conditions are for an opt out.
Money? Do they get
So basically, what we're going based off of is there something called a voluntary opt out.
What is this off of? Let's give a shout out. Sports Illustrated.
Oh yeah. This is off
our
of
sources.
Yep,
Cite
off
our
Sports
sources.
Illustrated.
I learned that in freshman year English.
Thank you, Patricia, for the article
College?
from July 29th.
No.
I was
High
gonna
school.
say you should have learned
High
that a
school.
long time ago.
Yeah.
Maybe it was even earlier. But
But anyways, we're making the assumption that these guys are doing voluntary opt outs. That is the assumption I would assume. So the voluntary opt-out applies to any player. Players who opt out into this category will receive $150,000 advanced against their 2020 base salary, and their contract will freeze. Basically, their contract will resume the next year, in this case 2021. The player will be only eligible to collect their base salary and any performance escalators. They will not be able to receive any roster bonuses paid out in 2020.
Because that's what they're receiving this year, correct?
Exactly. Yes.
That's a deal and a half. I'll opt out right now.
Yeah.
Well,
when I
considering
was looking at it, like Matt Lacoste was probably going to get cut anyway, so he might as well take his money and run to this year, and then next year maybe he'll make the team, or maybe not. Like,
or be a free
who
agent,
knows? Well, he'll still be he'll still have his year.
Oh, I thought he was up. This is his last
contract freezes.
Okay, you're right.
He would still have that money that we'd have, but if he gets cut, at least he's making some of his money. You know what I mean? So that makes a lot of sense, especially if you're not sold, if you're nervous about the virus.
Oh yeah, it's 100%.
I think it's a smart move for anything, and I think my prediction, one of the biggest names that we'll see is James Conner. James Conner is known he's had a long battle with cancer.
Yeah,
and he is in remission,
true.
But he could be. I think it wouldn't be a bad idea for him to opt out because, he's in an at-risk category.
And there's going to be quite a few players, especially when you consider you can still get your roster bonus and you can still get, workout bonuses and other things. The only thing that really affects is salary bonus, and obviously you won't get incentives because you won't be playing games.
Right, but you'll get it next year. The contract freezes.
Exactly. So for a lot of players, that's a pretty good deal.
Yeah.
Unless there's some players that, really need to play this year for some reason, whatever that reason is, could be a million things. But for a lot of players that maybe don't need to, or a lot of players that were that already on the way out, so they might as well prolong it for another year, make it another $150,000, and you know what I mean?
I just think it makes sense. Makes sense for everyone that, I'm not saying everyone should opt out, but I'm saying if you're in that situation where Marcus Cannon, who is a cancer survivor, I don't think it's smart for him to risk that playing. You know what I mean? I think it makes perfect sense. Or Dante Hightower, who has a two-week-old baby.
Yeah.
It's not worth risking.
I mean, that's a good time also to, for maternity leave and everything else, if you want to spend some time with the baby for the first year.
Yeah. I think more for, I would take it more as risk. Bringing that risk back, but
at that point, it works
I think
out.
the NFL did I think it's a great. I think it sounds like a great plan. It seems like a fair deal to everyone.
Yeah, because you still get your roster bonus and you still get 150 salary. So at least, no matter who you are, pretty much in the NFL, that should at least cover your expenses for the year. You know what I mean? That you'll at least be able to work stuff out.
Yeah. And
keep yourself afloat and be able to come back the next year.
Did you see the thing that came out yesterday? Not to switch back to baseball, but all right, you're a cool guy, revving your engine out there. Yoenis Cespedes just disappeared. Did you guys see that?
Yeah, I heard something about it.
The team put out that they haven't heard from Cespedes. He didn't report to the facility. No, he wasn't answering his phone calls. He wasn't answering anything. Yeah. And he was MIA for probably close to the whole day. And then randomly, he finally texted someone and said, "Yeah, I'm opting out of this season. I don't want to risk COVID."
I mean, better communication skills would be nice, but I understand.
I was starting to get nervous, especially the times who knows, if he got really sick, it's very
got into a car accident, you never know.
Or it's very isolated, so something might have happened to him at his home, and no one knows because everyone, I was getting really nervous for him.
Yeah.
And then he just texts everyone, "Yeah, I'm opting out. I'm not playing." I was that was pretty wild. That I mean, I can't. I'm not questioning him opting out, but it was and he doesn't get any money either because it's mid-season.
Yeah.
Oh.
He says goodbye to that money. So, but simple phone call would have been nice.
Communication skills, guys.
A little text that says I opt out.
Yeah.
A little something.
Who knows? Maybe his phone died.
An email.
Maybe
a carrier pigeon.
Who knows? Maybe he was outside doing something and his phone died, and that happens. As somebody that has had that happen more than a few times, I get it.
Yeah, I don't think his phone died, and that was the reason he.
No, I'm just trying to be nice.
I don't know. I think if someone was nervous,
maybe he was catching up on the latest season of Big Brother.
No, that's starting up soon.
Oh.
Big Brother All-Stars.
Oh, let's not get into it this episode.
They're in their 2-week quarantine.
We still got
now.
more topics. We're almost at an hour,
They're
guys.
at their 2-week quarantine,
Oh, here
and
we
they're
go.
going to be starting up in the next couple
I've
weeks.
been seeing like commercials and stuff for it. It's
Yeah,
not on yet.
It's not on yet. It's starting.
Oh,
They have the
okay.
quarantine for 2 weeks, and then they usually.
That's what you were saying when we were like really talking about it. You were like, because I think at that time you thought they weren't having it.
Yeah, there was a
right?
bunch of rumors, but we hadn't heard anything yet. And then
maybe they listened to the podcast. 'Cause
Maybe
I'm
they
pretty
did.
sure that was your plan. Quarantine for 2 weeks and then
get them in the house. Like what?
Yeah.
No one's gonna catch anything.
The game show is
Trap 'em.
effectively a bubble at that point anyway. So
we're
like-
not talking about. I just wanted to bring. I just wanted to bring
I'm
it up.
happy.
I'm sure you are.
I'll give little Big Brother updates when the season starts.
Great.
They talked not to go. One last thing.
No.
I saw something that said there was a tweet that said get Johnny Bananas on Big Brother. Little Big Brother challenge crossover.
Where's he from again?
The MTV.
No, but isn't he like a Massachusetts guy, or you just like him?
I just like.
Oh,
never.
I thought he
I don't
was.
think he's-
I'm getting people
CT's
mixed up.
from from Mass, but we won't get into that.
Also, before we get, I know what we're getting into next. Before we pivot away, Tom Brady's birthday today.
Happy birthday, Tom.
Oh, happy birthday, Tom.
Happy birthday.
43, I think it said.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Thanks for leaving us.
Yeah.
Then another thing, not to that we're leaving the NFL, but not that this is like happening at a good time or bad time because this is bad, but like if the opt out happened way before, imagine if we had all that salary cap money, then we would have been able to offer Tom more money because now we have so much cap room. We have decent cap room now that we can go get a guy like Clowney, hint, to help for a long term deal. But if we had that money then, we could have given Tom more money. I don't know if it seemed like he wanted to leave anyway.
I think he
But
kind of wanted out.
I think you just want to prove himself elsewhere.
I like having Cam. I'm like full in on the Cam train.
yeah, now that it's like we got Cam, but at the time when we didn't really have any, we didn't have a real plan, and it was Jared Stidham, which I still am fine with. I would have been fine with. Giving Tom like an extra like. I don't know how much $1 million to play. Like that would have been. I think Tom like pride's one thing, but getting the extra couple $1 million that like millions of dollars, I think I would have stayed too.
Especially he's taking cuts for so long. It was due.
Yeah, if he got paid a decent, I don't know.
He earned his due, but let's
move on. Big news today came out this morning. Producer John, when we got in the car today, didn't hear about it. I broke the news to John. We broke the news to James. XFL is back. And
back.
It's back. What are you talking about? And
well,
I just want to point out before we
get the whole news out, and then
before we get into it.
Yeah.
I want to shout out the Big Red Zone because we broke this news first.
Oh,
a lot of people don't remember this, but we broke this news first with a little help from one of our guests, Big Red Zone's friends, Ty Schwab. Let's hear it.
For sure. They're saying that so they're supposed to have a bid and have it auctioned off July 31st and they should have a buyer we should know August 2nd or 3rd, they were saying.
Really?
That's huge news.
Breaking news.
Yeah.
Big Red Zone.
Huge.
Big Red Zone got it.
Big Red Zone got it.
We got it. That was from July 15th. So thanks, Ty, for breaking that on our show. He was dead on.
Ty's playing football again. Well, maybe. I don't know the
I hope
details,
so.
but let's just assume.
Well, that was my only comment when we say it's back. It's like, well, we don't have any dates yet. So
it's gonna be back. We just don't know who's
I hope
playing
so.
and stuff.
But you didn't.
Someone
you didn't finish.
Someone's not gonna buy it.
Someone's not gonna buy it and not start.
Who bought it?
Oh,
that's what
our friend, another wrestling
friend.
not a friend. I think it's our friend.
Friend of the pod.
One-way friendship of the pod. And one of John's, one of my. I think I mentioned he's my favorite wrestler.
I think so.
The Rock, Dwayne The Rock Johnson.
Great buy.
And
Crazy.
some other no-name people group that helped probably pay for some of it. You want to read you have the.
So The Rock actually tweeted like an hour ago. We are recording this on August 3rd, the exact date that Ty Schwab said that.
Shout out
the news.
Ty.
Recording this Monday, August 3rd, and the news broke literally like an hour ago. You want to say? Dwayne The Rock Johnson 1 hour ago. With my trailblazing partner at Danny Garcia. I don't know if anyone's heard of Danny Garcia.
No.
Seems like some CEO investment lady.
Yeah.
and Redbird Capital, which is like just a capital firm or whatever, we have acquired the XFL. With gratitude and passion, I built a career with my own 2 hands and will apply these calluses. I'm an idiot. Calluses to our XFL 2020 brand. Excited to create something special for the fans. Hashtag XFL, hashtag full circle. Because he played football.
Yeah.
The Rock.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Play Canadian football.
That's sick. Imagine being The Rock and you start your career playing football and then like you buy
he's an owner.
Now you're the CEO of
He runs an entire league.
Runs an entire league.
Wasn't he in a football TV show
Movie
too?
Game Plan.
Yeah.
No, he was in a TV. I knew he was on the Disney movie Game Plan, but there was like a movie. He was like some like either player or scout for football. It was like some HBO show.
Tooth Fairy. No, Ballers.
Ballers. Never saw it, so I don't know. I just know like there's in a lot of
someone
stuff.
I posted it on Instagram and someone commented a Ballers reference.
But
they said, well played, Spencer Strassmore. Well played, which I guess is his character in Ballers.
Gotcha.
But I hope basically what he does is, look, let's take what the XFL is doing, let's push it even more. Let's get a lot of the same people that we had that were giving it the direction, and just kind of keep doing what they were doing, but make even more innovations, more changes.
And The Rock knows entertainment too.
So I smell what The Rock is cooking, and it is the XFL.
So we were talking about how the XFL brings in that WWE entertainment kind of side of it.
Mm-hmm.
The Rock is going to push that to 10, to 11, to 12, to 100.
He's one of the greatest entertainers
of all time.
I was doing, this was a couple of years ago, I was in like a marketing class or whatever, and there was like, not the whole class, but like one of the examples that the professor was using, we're looking at like Instagram stuff and just like influencers and social media and numbers and how that relates to marketing. And she brought up The Rock's like Instagram account, and like he's just a mega star, like in terms of just like even just being like famous, but even in terms of just like social media marketing and just like all that. So like you said, like applying all that, like it's gonna be the entertainment side, but like it's gonna be huge on like social media and like it already was doing a good job at that, but like now it's like
his social media push alone
stupid
will propel the XFL immensely. And think about this: this guy's been directing movies. This guy's been helping out with TV shows.
True.
Like,
I think he's the highest paid actor of all time.
No.
Look it up. That's a
no.
Also, The Rock has 192 million followers on Instagram. That's nuts. 192 million.
So
it's only going to increase now.
You know what? I wonder if we could do a fact check on this eventually. I wonder if he has more followers than every NFL team combined on Instagram.
Who is the highest paid actor? Dwayne Johnson.
Is he really?
Dwayne Johnson is the highest paid actor in the world, having earned $89.4 million before taxes last year.
So he's the highest paid last year, or like of all time?
I was thinking like all time.
That would probably mean just like the way like inflation, or I don't know if the word inflation, but like the way just.
Because I know, Robert Downey Jr. got paid a lot more than that to play Iron Man in the last movie.
Oh, really? Oh, wait a minute.
So if you're talking about in the last year, probably, but also a lot of movies haven't come out, so I haven't been paying attention. So I don't know. I'm pretty sure Robert Downey Jr.
I think you're right.
Paid more. But to be fair, that's still a lot of money.
Yeah.
I love Dwayne The Rock Johnson. I've seen like every movie he's been in recently.
I think the point of him is like we said, he has the social media genius. He has the sports background. He has the football background. He has the entertainment background. He's done a little bit of everything. I think he's going to sprinkle it all in to this thing called the XFL, and it's just going to blow up. I think it's going to continue to grow. He is one of the most perfect people to do this.
I couldn't think of a single other person that has all those qualities that I would want more in the captain's chair than him. What?
This is from, not to go back to what
I'm just curious.
No, this list from GoBankingRates.com. This says Samuel L. Jackson. It's number 1. Number 2 is Robert Downey Jr. 3 is Andy Serkis.
All right, that's not looking good if I don't know who number 3 is.
I've heard of Andy Serkis, but he's really famous.
In what? What was he in?
I guess it doesn't hold well that I couldn't tell you. But
I was gonna say.
Hold on, I found our list. Yahoo Finance. I trust Yahoo Finance. Number 1, Samuel L. Jackson. Although he is not the highest paid actor in Hollywood, Samuel L. Jackson, whose 112 film strong resume includes Pulp Fiction and a Time to Kill,
So they're doing, yep.
is the only actor who can claim gross receipts greater than $10 billion, thanks to his roles in the franchises that include The Avengers and Star Wars. And then 2 is Robert Downey Jr.,
Yeah.
3 Andy Serkis, 4 Tom Hanks.
I believe that.
I thought The Rock would have been higher. Morgan Freeman's at 8.
Remember, The Rock hasn't been in as many movies as some of
That's
these guys.
true.
Remember, The Rock only started acting, late
That's true.
late night, was it 99, 2000, something like
Because I think that's why Samuel L. Jackson...
Even
And that's why Samuel L. Jackson tops Robert Downey Jr. because he has probably 10 years on him, maybe.
Yeah.
No, I think The
we're not-
Rock started with Scorpion King or whatever it was. Like it was it was the Egyptian movie back in like late 90s, early 2000s, I think, or something like that.
Dwayne Johnson on the list. It's like a whole list. He's number 27. So he's
That's still
gonna,
up there,
yeah,
though.
He's gonna be number 1.
When was Dwayne wrestling?
Early
late
2000s.
late
Late
80s to kind of late
80s?
I think
Late
so.
No.
He was probably Rocky, I think. Hold on.
As The Rock, I know he started
No.
acting. He started acting in the 90s.
Let's
90s,
look
early
it up.
2000s, I
He's
thought.
not.
We're in a big looking up
Yeah.
segment. Hold on.
Because he must have been born, in the late 70s, early 80s?
He was born.
No?
Hold on. I gotta find his
Seven-
Wikipedia.
We're going to keep this on the pod because I got to know now.
Born in 1972.
Yeah. 82, 92. He would have been 20. Yes, he
Years-
played in the CFL.
Oh,
in the
right.
90s.
Okay, so hold on.
Yeah.
Years active. He played football in 1990 to 1995.
Yep.
In wrestling, he went 1996 to 2004,
Yep.
took a break, came back for 2011,
Yep.
and then finally retired again 2019.
Yep.
Acting 1999 to present.
Yeah, I was right.
I don't know why
Boom,
I thought.
baby.
I don't know why I thought 80s.
Boom.
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
I thought
80s?
I guess I thought he was older than he was, but I thought because he had this character before he was The Rock. He was like this wicked young kid, like I think he went by Rocky or something like that, and he was I don't know, but it was before like it was the same thing. Stone
Was he
Cold
the
wasn't
Italian
always
Stallion?
huh.
The Italian
No.
Stallion?
Close.
Did he box?
It's the same thing with like Stone Cold. Like Stone Cold
Yeah.
wasn't always Stone Cold Steve Austin. Before he was Stone Cold Steve Austin, he was Stunning Steve Austin. He had blonde hair.
Wow.
Yeah, I think that was either early 90s or late 80s.
Talk
or
about a
something.
role reversal, huh?
Yeah, but anyway, I always figure out how to get into wrestling talk.
Yeah.
Which this one's
Yeah.
pretty easy.
Well, this
Yeah, I
one's, I was
mean-
going to say Dwayne.
I wonder how we got on this talk of wrestling.
The XFL's back.
XFL's back. That's it's
Viper
gonna be-
Gang.
Viper Gang is back.
Vipe up.
They can stink again next year.
Yep.
So do we think this is going to be an easy answer, but do you think they're going to keep it would make sense to keep all the same
It makes
teams,
sense
right?
to keep all
They already have the
same-
copyrights for all of it
Because
anyway.
I know
They already
that
have-
when they were whenever it was early 2000s,
Mhm.
like when they rebooted last year, as far as I know, all the teams are different from the early 2000s.
I think
Now-
it's just because it was such a big jump. I don't know personally,
I don't
but
really- yeah.
like
Hear
think
me
it's
out,
just a
though.
big jump.
I think with the Rock's connections, I think you're going to see a bump up in the quality of the players of the XFL. Because all these guys are going to say, this guy is supporting us. This guy, imagine The Rock alone,
Yeah.
sharing some of these guys' posts on social media and pushing for the right people. He's going to be able to find people that are going to be excellent players. Now, sure, it's not going to be players that rival the NFL, but it's going to be pretty darn close. He's going to be able to find some good people. I think a lot more people are going to have confidence in the XFL,
It adds a
knowing
lot
that
more.
he's backing it.
It adds a level of like credibility. to
Oh,
it
yeah.
that-
This is a whole different thing. Like Vince
Yeah.
McMahon, don't get me wrong, does a lot of good stuff. But you're talking about people that are really
right.
prevalent and really relevant.
Forgot Vince McMahon was the owner before.
Yeah. But think about this, though. We're
remember
talking
we
about,
did a whole shirtless
Yeah,
Vince
wait a
McMahon
minute.
thing.
That's crazy. Yeah, it just gets jumped around. It's like a WWE thing, but it's like not.
but,
Know your role
That's crazy.
and shut your mouth.
but my
That's all I got from The Rock, beside the eyebrow thing.
It
That's all.
doesn't matter
Oh, it
what your
doesn't
name.
matter.
That's my favorite
That's
one.
what. Yeah,
Like,
that's true.
Wait. What's your name again? Oh man, it doesn't
Doesn't
matter
matter.
what your name.
I'm sorry. What do you do? What do you do? What do you like to do?
Oh, I'm
It doesn't matter what you like to do.
he's so good.
Go ahead. Ask me another question. All right. It doesn't matter what you have to say.
Always fall for it and never gets old. Oh man.
I hope he does something, plays around. I don't think he will, but it would be funny if he played around with that during like press conferences and stuff like that.
He's a charismatic dude.
Amazing.
Or we kind of interrupt you with
sorry.
rock talk. What were you saying?
it's okay. What I was going to
Rock
say is,
talk.
when you talk about the influence Vince McMahon has versus the massive influence The Rock has in terms of cultural, social media, movies, everything else, I would say that probably some people know who Vince McMahon is. Like, if you don't really watch wrestling, you don't really know. Everybody knows who Dwayne The Rock Johnson is. Yeah. He can go to anywhere in the world and everybody knows him. Not for nothing. It's not like Vince doesn't do a lot of good things. He does a lot of great things, but The Rock is a whole different level. Can you get anyone bigger than The Rock? I don't think
it goes back
so.
to what we said, kind of like what you just said right now.
Yeah.
I think he has to be the most famous person in the world. You know, again, not the highest paid actor, sure, but like think of it.
One of the most famous
person in the world might go to The Rock. I think it does.
I think you're right.
I heard someone argue like Tom Cruise.
No,
I don't think so either.
Maybe like in the 90s, maybe, but like
right after Top Gun came out, yes. Yeah. Since then,
2020, Dwayne The Rock Johnson, easily.
Especially he's been killing it in movies.
Yeah,
that's the thing. Like he's made a lot of
Hobbs and Shaw.
I did not see that.
I didn't see it either. Baywatch.
Jumanji, come on, man. Jumanji's been also Central Intelligence. That was really good. I love when him and Kevin Hart are in a movie.
Make a lot of great movies.
I love those two.
Another fan of the show.
Fan of the show, Kevin Hart.
Friend of the show, I mean.
Friend of the show.
According to Big Red.
Future friend of the show, Kevin Hart.
Once we get to know Dwayne a little more.
Or we can just start, we can just say, because no one knows what the future is, we can just be future guest Dwayne The Rock Johnson.
Someday, way down the line.
Someday.
I will argue this. Like, I already think the level of talent, I don't know how much the level of talent in the XFL is going to change just because Dwayne's here. I think it's already where it's supposed. It's very competitive. It has a lot of great talent, and it is what it is. It's like it's not going to be the NFL. You're not going to be the NFL, and you're going to fail if you try to be the NFL. It's got to be its own entity, and I think people that maybe don't get their shot, I think wouldn't normally get their shot. If that's who's playing in the XFL, I think that will make it even better because they're going to be, like Ty said, hungrier. They're going to be more like this is their opportunity, like this is one of their last chances to try to make it into the league. Yep. And I think that's where they're going to thrive, and that's where they have thrived.
And I've said before, I think it was more entertaining. I always thought it was more entertaining to watch than the NFL.
100%.
Like, easily.
Right.
You know?
And I think that's because obviously the talent wasn't as good as the NFL, but it was still pretty good talent. Like they had guys like defensive player Ty Schwab playing on their team. Like they had some.
That's that PJ who ended up going to the NFL.
Right.
So PJ
not as
Walker.
good as Ty.
Not as good as Ty. Ty's our guy.
Ty's our XFL guy.
But hear me out on this one. I'm actually going to argue in the long term, I think the XFL might get better talent than the NFL. Why? I'm going to go on a limb on this one and say this. These teams, in terms of their income, is not going to be tied directly to how well they do. It's going to be how entertaining they are. So what's going to happen is you're going to get teams that are going to be known for being very entertaining, maybe very competitive, but they're going to have certain personalities. They're going to have strong kind of, I guess, pulls. Kind of like, you know how Seattle had like Legion of Boom? That's kind of like their identity for a while. These XFL teams are going to end up doing that. Kind of very similar thing.
Cleared to engage for the H.
But the whole point is, John, you're a Vipers fan. Even though
damn right I am.
even though like let's say lately they haven't been doing well.
Wait, what?
Wait.
lately
wait, hear me out. No. Follow me, kids.
Lately they haven't been doing well. They have 6 games in their franchise history.
Follow. What I'm getting at here is down the road when they start doing well, or when they pick up, or when like all the factors these teams change. Because it's not necessarily performance based, you're going to get so many fans that are loyal to them just because they like how like certain aspects about them. It's going to be more about the entertainment side. So what I'm getting is when you talk about money, maybe they might not have NFL talent. I would argue that these teams are going to make more money down the road if this continues. 10 years from now, the XFL will end up making more money for the players than the NFL, and they'll get better talent.
I mean, there's going to be kids coming right out of college that sign XFL contracts in the future.
Right.
And these kids are going to be hungrier, and these kids are going to be more entertaining, but more importantly, they might have bigger incentives. I would argue. And they're also going to become media personalities. They're going to become like internet personalities and stuff.
You never know.
There's so much more growth.
I wouldn't say no, but I think it's very unlikely.
I don't think it's going to topple the NFL.
I don't think I don't think it's going to have better talent.
It's two different things.
I don't think it's going to have better talent or like make more money than the NFL. The NFL is just like it's like nothing like it's a sport that I've never seen like anything else. It makes so much money.
Oh yeah.
It's like it just gobbles up money. I just don't see that people are going to want to say, hey, I don't want to go play for the Patriots. I want to go
Yeah.
play for the Vipers.
But hear me out. Hear me out. Who's the guy that's going to make the XFL international? Who's the guy that's going to push it to other countries? What has the NFL not done? Push it that much
I
internationally.
mean, they're doing that now.
Yeah, in what, London? That's it. London and then Mexico.
I mean, I don't
That's a
think
start. Hear me out. Hear me out. It's taken them how many years to do that? They've been interested internationally for what, 20 years it's been talking about on and on?
I don't think it's
And they
been
just
20
start-
years talking about getting American football into sports because football hasn't been as big as it was in 20 years
Even
ago.
10 years. What
Even 10 years ago.
I'm saying
I
is
completely
because-
disagree. I disagree. I'm disagreeing that
all right,
somewhere like
off camera we're gonna discuss
I
about this
disagree
one,
that
but-
somewhere like London would say, you know what? Sorry, NFL. I want to have the
No.
Vipers play the Houston
Steve-
Roughnecks this
Steve,
Sunday.
nobody is saying that they can't both coexist in the same area. What I'm saying is because of XFL, how it works, you're more likely to be able to make regional teams and more likely to be able to add teams onto that list and more likely to be able to get more countries involved.
I could see the
That's
NFL,
my argument.
If I could see if the XFL tries to go overseas, I could see the NFL bullying them out, like in terms of like sponsorships or buying I don't know how a lot of stuff works, but like in
Or they
terms
might have
of,
a
like,
no compete clause or something like that.
just like
or-
different clauses. I mean, like there's definitely ways that businesses can be like, oh, sorry, this is our market, and like not letting people in. You know,
They
what I
can
mean?
also just say, we're interested in going over there, and they're going to be like, oh, we'd rather put all our focus and attention into the... If-
Yeah, they're not
like-
going to market them at the same time.
it's
I
like,
agree with that.
It's like if...
yeah,
like,
but the XFL was already playing during the NFL offseason.
Yeah, but not
So, like, that-
overseas. It was just like its own entity in the States, which I guess you could argue would be a similar thing, but
But that's what I'm getting at is I see the potential here for what the XFL
Yeah.
can do, I would say much more readily than the NFL. Because the NFL is basically more constricted, more restricted than the XFL in terms of their standards, what they can do, what everybody's expectations are. The XFL has much more flexibility.
I think what I'll say to your point though is maybe I'm underestimating how actually insanely monster of humans and talented NFL guys are, because like
Oh yeah, they're insane.
they're superhumans. So
yeah,
like
they're the best.
I'm
of the
definitely they
best
are
players.
they are literally the best at that sport. I mean, I guess I'm definitely underestimating that in terms of just being like the talent shift. Like I agree, there's definitely I think we're all agreeing that there's amazingly talented athletes in the XFL.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
There's Division I college athletes
Right,
playing in
right.
and former NFL players.
And the more I
playing in
guess
XFL.
the more I think of it, maybe it is more, not to say like a second chance, but just like a different opportunity than the NFL. But I think the more I think about it, it's like the talent. I don't know, just like the XFL. I mean, not the XFL, the NFL. Like you said, it's the
Like-
most talented people
like
in the world.
PJ Walker was a
Yeah.
stud in the league. He has
Yeah.
not a chance, snowball's chance of starting this year.
Still
Zero
has
chance.
No.
Zero chance. Of
Who's he signed with?
Carolina.
No.
They just gave big money to Teddy.
Yep.
He's gonna start, barring injury, which I hope doesn't happen.
Yeah.
He's not gonna. He's there, and they brought him on as like a. They draft someone before they start, like say we're gonna build around PJ Walker.
Oh, I get that.
And nothing against him. It's just that's how it is. There's such a talent level of quarterbacks in the league. It's not there.
Yeah.
So I just don't think as far as like Europe goes, I think that the NFL is so much closer to that. And even though I don't want to bring it up, I after thinking about it, I know we talked about like it's impossible to do the bubble in London because there's like, you have
Yeah.
to build more stadiums. They don't need to build more stadiums. I thought about this too. They have plenty of soccer fields that are regulation size that they don't use.
Yeah.
They could easily just use those. Don't want to get into that debate, but it's like they have the capacity for an NFL, not now, but like in the season to have like games over there. They could have a team over there and play other games in there.
Well, yeah, barring the virus, if that wasn't a factor, then yeah. But if
Right.
the virus is a factor, they don't have the facilities on what they go over there.
Yeah, they do.
To have
They
a
could
bunch
play
of
at any
NFL teams
soccer.
over there?
Soccer fields are they could make
No,
into-
I'm talking about like for housing and stuff like that and for the bubble and to make sure people are like following
I
protocols
haven't
over
looked, and like I said, I don't want to get into it, but I haven't
Yeah.
looked into like I'm assuming
I'm
that
talking
they
like
have
logistics. is my thing.
hotels and stuff like that, like here. They have to have like different things
Yeah.
that they could go. I mean, the NBA just took over Disney World. I think the NFL could take over like a hotel and pay them huge, stupid amounts of money to take over there. But that's like a different. I don't want to get into
Yeah,
it again. We
but-
spent 20 minutes talking about it last
Yeah.
show, but I think it's bottom line, great stuff with the Rock buying the
Oh, yeah.
XFL. It's going to be exciting to see what
yeah, weird
happens.
pivot. We took a weird pivot
How.
Thank you for.
because I forgot we started about XFL talk that The Rock talked about it, and now we're talking about XFL going to Europe.
Well, no, that was like James's take. He thinks
Yeah.
it's going to
I
be
don't know,
bigger. XFL could be bigger than the NFL.
Hey, don't shoot the messenger here.
What was your point again?
I just saying
It doesn't matter
Shut
what
the-
your point is.
It's a good way to end it. Shut up.
Do we have
So rude. Unbelievably rude. What?
I'm sorry. What's your problem?
I'm not
It
following.
doesn't matter what your problem
Hey,
is.
just for that, we're not doing people's topic.
Rip.
I don't think it's because of that. I think it's another reason, but I think they're all XFL topics, and we just
Yeah, we
spend
did.
time-
It's not that we didn't get people's topics; is that all the ones that got submitted were asking us about The Rock buying the XFL,
So,
which is
I
good.
think. Do you want to give a shout out to the people that actually wrote in?
Danny
Just like
Football, Lapsley.
All right, thank you, Danny Football and Lapsley, for writing in about the XFL. So we kind of included people's topic into that. It was such a big topic. We didn't want to just do a people's topic. We wanted to have a whole segment on the show. But with that said, if you do have a people's topic and you want to write in, make sure you get in on Instagram or Twitter or even anywhere, YouTube, whatever. And any point of the week, doesn't have to be, Monday, doesn't have to be Sunday. It could be now if you want to get in for next week. Make sure you write in and give us a topic, and we'll give you a shout out on the show. Also, if you're watching this on YouTube, hit the like button and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Quest for, I think we're sitting at like around 50. So quest for 100 subscribers.
100 on. We want 100 on YouTube. We want 1,000 on Instagram.
So
And we want any on Twitter.
any on Twitter. So make sure you go follow us on all those at Big Red Zone on Twitter and Instagram, and look up YouTube Big Red Zone.
And what should they do if they like the podcast?
I think they should tell a friend, John.
Tell a
I
friend,
think they should
yes,
tell a
sir.
friend. Word of mouth is a big way of growing our podcast. So
And why do you think word of mouth works so well?
what is this, an interview?
doesn't matter what. I just wanted
You
to
just ru-
post
you
it.
just-
I want to
You
get
just
it in
ruined
so
it.
bad.
You ruined it.
You guys
I-
abused
I-
that way too much this episode.
I think I nailed it.
You nailed it.
At
You
the
nailed
end,
it.
you didn't even see
You
it
nailed
coming.
it. I just wanted to get some payback, and it didn't hit.
It splat.
Oh, well.
Swing and a miss.
That's okay, John. It was a nice try. It's a nice try.
All right, send us home.
Okay. I was gonna hit you with another one, but I was trying to think of another catchphrase, but it wasn't.
Haven't
working.
eaten lunch yet. I want to go eat
Okay,
lunch.
fair enough. Same. So thanks for watching. Go follow us, tell a friend, and have a great week, everyone.